Hey, Shalom, Kalala, Yahweh, Bashem, El Shai, Bashem, Rakah, Kadash, the oneness of the apostles, salutes you brothers teaching the word in sincerity and in truth. And what I want to do here, it says, this is talking about, this was on, I picked this up the other day. I'm meaning to do a video on it. In the papers, front page, and it says, demands for troops to be given mission to keep supermarket shelves stacked. And pretty much they're talking about food shortages because there's a situation going on right now that they're calling the pingdemic, and what that if you've been checking it out, they got these track and trace apps and all that, and everybody's getting pinged. There's been companies where if you've been in close contact with anybody, everybody's getting pinged and being told to isolate. And there's a situation where a lot of people in supply chains, in distributions, truckers, your supermarkets, they're all getting pinged. One company was one bar, and everybody in that company, they pretty much, he had to get new staff, the whole staff out of town because everyone got pinged. So what they're saying is demands for troops to be given mission to keep supermarket shelves stacked. And the army, martial law, lockdowns, all of that, the army have a big role to play into this. You're going to start seeing the army shooting people out there in the streets, calling people biological hazards. So if they ain't got the thing, you ain't accounted for. So some of it, petrol stations have joined supermarkets facing shortages as the mad dog pingdemic widens, with one leading politician even calling on ministers to bring in the army to keep them supplied. So they've been having the army in with a lot of this stuff that's been going on here, door to door, knocking door to doors. So it goes on. I'm going to jump. Tory MP Tobias Elwood, chair of the Commons Defence Committee, pleaded for the government's crisis committee to meet and for military personnel to plug the gaps left by lorry drivers forced to self-isolate. The urgency of staff shortages now impacting on supermarkets and national food distribution warrants a Cobra meeting. And it's funny how we call him, Esau, Edom, the devil, and all that. And when you read Revelations 20, it calls him that great serpent. And here, when they're having a meeting, they're calling it what? The Cobra meeting. Okay. The same spirit on the man that was the person that was in the garden, that serpent, that's his Esau Edom. Development of the army to assist HGV driver shortfall must be a last resort option considered. So I can read on. There's another page. It continues on. In there. But what we've seen with all of this is what we're seeing here is we're seeing like I said, like we say, and what's funny at the top of that? They got some kind of drone at the top of the page. And the technology and the drones and all that, they're all, everything is lining up. Most of those movies that people were watching when they were young, it was all conditioning for the chip technology and for the the RFID and all of that. And there's going to be major food shortages in supermarkets, control of distribution. There's more things to even talk about here, because if I'm going to put it, this video is based off this. So the scriptures talks about men spoiling men's houses and for the lack of bread and all of that. Insurrections, people setting up their own, off the grid. You got off the grid people that don't want to get the mark, don't want to be part of society. When you watch those, it's going to be like that. People busting into people's houses, chaos. Then you're going to have people running to wherever the government's at to get in on things. So there's going to have to be a thing that they're going to have that's going to make them, separate from people that don't have it, so they can get, get in on this. But it's a time of judgment, so a lot of people are mass death is here. With stuff that's going on, adverse weather patterns, and etc. etc. So this one's solely on the food shortages. I just want to go into that, and there's a lot going on. On to the next shallow one.